What's it like to relocate from one country to another? Is it just as simple as buying an airline ticket and getting on a plane, or is there more to it than that? Well, in this video, we're going to talk about a really critical part of the process, a part of the process that begins before you even step out your front door. Hey everybody, this is Praxis. Over the next several months and even potentially years, I'm going to be sharing with you the process of setting up a secondary retreat location in the Southern Hemisphere, most likely in the country of Uruguay. Now, the reason that I say most likely is that whenever you're coming up with any kind of a plan, it's really important to not, really lock yourself, strap yourself down to that plan. Or the same is true for like a worldview or like a set of beliefs. It's important to always keep yourself open to the idea that, maybe you don't have everything 100% correct right at the beginning, and it's important to be able to kind of modify. So, that's why I say, most likely at this point, that is our plan. But as we go down the process, and I'm going to be sharing that process with you guys, things may come to, shit may come to light that will, suggest that we want to, alter our plan. And it's really, really important to have the mental liquidity in order to be able to, change your mind on something. So that's the spirit that I'm going to be heading into this series of videos with, is that we have kind of an idea about where we're going, but we're going to be open to, the new information that gets thrown into our face as we kind of go through that process. So I've got a number of videos that I want to share with you. One of them is going to be kind of about site selection, how we're going through the process, from a prepper's point of view, how we are selecting kind of like the perfect spot for our needs, our interests, our predilections toward wanting to have kind of a forward-looking view on things. You don't want to buy a new house right in a flood zone. You don't want to buy a new house in a place that's likely to be, taken out by wildfires. You don't want to build a new house in a place that's likely to get mobbed during some kind of an emergency event. There are all sorts of criterias that, I'm sorry, that's not the way you pluralize criteria. There are all sorts of criteria that, from a prepper's perspective, you would want to fold into your decision-making process that go above and beyond what I think kind of like the ordinary person is thinking about when they're thinking about going to a new place. We also are going to be, heading down to this location because, much to the surprise of many people online, you can't make all of these decisions just by doing a web search. You actually have to, get up, stand on your own 2 feet, walk out your door, and go into the actual environment. So we are, in all likelihood, going to be doing that at some point in 2025. I'm thinking either in the spring up here in the north, or more likely during the autumn of 2025, which will be the spring down in the Southern Hemisphere. So probably towards the latter half of 2025, we're going to be making a trip down there. And all of the work that we're going to be doing leading up to that point is the laying the groundwork for having a successful trip down there, so that we can gather the information that we want to gather. We can ask the questions that we want to have asked. We can meet the right people that we want to meet, doing all the things that you couldn't do just by, and when I initially suggested that I was thinking about a move down to Uruguay, there were a lot of people that said, why are you making a whole video about this? It's obvious, just buy a plane ticket and go down there. All the types of things that people who have that kind of mindset, generally speaking, wouldn't realize that they'd forgotten to do or take care of until they got back, or they're there on the ground and they're realizing, oh, I should have set this up, I should have set that up. So we're going to be setting up all that kind of stuff so we can have a really, really productive trip when we go down there. But before any of that, before we go down there, before we really get into the site selection process, granted that is something that I'm really like knee deep in at this point. But before I get into a video with that about that with you guys, there is a broader topic that I want to really address in this video, and that is the topic of this video, and that is comfort zones and stepping out of them. This is something I think that whether you're a prepper or you're not a prepper, it's really difficult for a lot of people to step outside your comfort zone. It is by definition not comfortable. And because of that, it's something that a lot of people don't do. But I think it's something that's really important for a couple of reasons. One, it makes it so that you can actually live your life to its fullest, that you can maximize the kind of experiences that you have here while you are living on Earth. We all only have so much time here. The idea of prepping and preparing is, possibly to try to, extend the amount of time that you have, here on Earth, and so that your life here doesn't end prematurely. But even if you do everything perfectly, at some point your life will come to an end, and the quality of that life is going to depend on what you did during your time there. And that doesn't mean just a bunch of random furtive movements, just do as much as you possibly can. It's about the quality of the time that you spend, the connections you make with other people, the experiences that you have in your life that are of value to you, not just random experiences, but experiences that have value to you and your friends and your family that you can share together. And getting outside of your comfort zone is a great way of kind of expanding a lot of that stuff. And this potential move to the Southern Hemisphere is definitely a representation of me pushing myself outside of my comfort zone. Not because that's weird that light flickered. We're on solar power right now. And, so that's not like a grid-related issue. I'll have to check into that later on. Maybe it's the lamp itself, I'm not sure. Anyway, this move represents me getting outside of my comfort zone, not because I don't tend to travel, although I haven't been traveling lately. Ever since 9/11, I have found travel to be just none of the fun and excitement that it used to be. It's just, in terms, I'm talking about like air travel, there's just all the security lines and there's all the hassle about this and that, what you can take and can't take, and you just feel like you're a piece of meat getting processed through the system. I used to travel a lot for my work, traveling, doing film and video work, around the world. And it was just always so stressful. I'd be getting onto a plane with like a $50,000 camera in my carry-on, because you're not going to just throw $50,000 worth of stuff under the plane and then find out that the airline broke it or lost it or something like that. But because you need it wherever you're going, you need to have your film equipment. You'd be going on with your carry-on, and then they tell you there is no more carry-on space, and they try to force you to put it underneath the plane. And oftentimes you get on the plane, there'd be plenty of carry-on space. I just found the entire process really, I don't know if stressful is the right word for it, but irritating and just uncomfortable. It was an unfun process. All of the adventure and mystique and whimsy of travel from like the old like Pan American Airlines days, when you hop on an airplane and then you can go all over the world, and it's this wonderful experience. All of that was pretty much killed after 9/11, and because of that, I just tended to just do trips where I was driving places. So consequently, not for any other reason other than being irritated out of being a customer by the airlines, I just haven't done a lot of international travel lately. So for that reason, it's something, I'm getting back into something that I haven't done for a while. So there's that to it. But beyond that, it's really going to the Southern Hemisphere from the Northern Hemisphere, going to a place that speaks a completely different language is, I'm not going to lie, it's daunting. I've actually just started having my first Spanish language dreams. I've been practicing Spanish for the past 123 days. I'm on Duolingo. I have a 123-day streak. And just last night and the night before that, I've had my first Spanish language dreams. They're productive. They are not me blowing smoke up my butt about how effective I am at Spanish speaking. They are dreams where I'm having trouble conveying things in Spanish. So I'm in my dream world, my skills are about on par with the real world. So I guess I'm getting some extra practice time subconsciously. But this is something that's on my mind, and it really is kind of pushing me outside of my comfort zone, trying to interact with people in a language that I don't tend to interact with. I think that one of my skills is in terms of, well, I'm a photographer that has built houses. I've built, fallout shelters. I've made films. I've made books. I've made card games. I've made all sorts of things. My life is a story of trying out new things, and my skill set that allows me to do that is that I feel like I am pretty good at asking questions, asking the right kind of questions, listening to the answers to those questions, and learning from other people. And by doing that, I'm able to kind of branch out and become proficient in different people's skill sets. Medical types of things. I'm constantly kind of doing self-diagnostic and treatment of various medical types of things. I very successfully, up until now, because I think I tend to be good at doing research, asking the right questions, listening to the answers, and kind of being able to interpret. Of course, all that up until now has all been in English. And where I feel like I'm fairly proficient in English, at least proficient enough to use the word proficiently. Spanish, I have watched Spanish language toddler programs, and they are beyond my pay grade. So it is really putting me in a situation that I am not very adept at navigating within. And that, again, puts me outside of my comfort zone. In addition to that, language aside, just going to a very new environment like this, going to the Southern Hemisphere, into a completely different type of country, different type of geography, different types of wind patterns, different types of movements of the sun. Here in the Northern Hemisphere, I am facing south right now. The sun rises in the east, goes across the southern sky, and sets in the west. Whenever I'm looking at where I might want to situate a house or position some kind of a structure, I have a subconscious sense that I want to get onto these nice, warm southern, south-facing hillsides of hills. And in terms of going to the Southern Hemisphere, everything that I know from here is wrong, because in the Southern Hemisphere, you are looking to the north and you see the sun rise in the east and go across the northern sky and then set in the west. Instead of things kind of moving from the left to the right, because I always kind of orientate myself kind of facing south when I'm thinking about building, in the Southern Hemisphere, everything kind of rises to the right and then sets in the left. And it really is, it's putting me outside of my comfort zone. If you are thinking about doing a major move like this, this is an important thing to accept about the process. It may be putting you outside of your comfort zone, and you have to be okay doing that. Now, how do you deal with that? There are lots of different ways of dealing with that. The way that I deal with it is that I kind of break things up. I take them step by step, one bit at a time. Not with blinders onto the entire process, but kind of know what your entire process is looking like. But if you feel daunted by that entire process, because there's so many bits and pieces of that are, again, outside of your comfort zone, just focus on the piece that you need to focus at, or need to focus upon at that moment. That's kind of the way that I address it. One bit at a time. And when I feel kind of overwhelmed, I will think to myself, well, what's something that I can do right now? And this is something I say constantly on my channel. Whatever situation you may find yourself in, that you find overwhelming, that you find daunting, that you find makes you feel like, you are not enough for this challenge. Whenever you get into that kind of a situation and you're just not sure what to do with yourself, because you're not sure whether you're enough for whatever challenge it is that you're facing, for me, what I do is I just think to myself, well, what is something that I can do? I'm in a certain situation right now. I want to get myself to a different situation. What is something that I can do, however big of a step it might be? Maybe it's a large step, maybe it's just a tiny step. What is something that I can do to just move myself out of where I am to a new position that is just slightly closer or moderately closer to where I want to be? And by doing that, step by step by step, you start narrowing the distance between where you are and where you want to be. Myself, for today, I am going to be talking to someone about the process of getting a permanent residency in that country. Not to immediately do it. I don't think that I could. It's my understanding that you need to be kind of living in there at least for a series of months before you could apply for that process. I might be wrong on that. I'll be sharing more with that with you guys in future videos. But my task for today was to just make sure I got back to somebody who I was going to be talking about with that. It's someone that lives and works out of Montevideo, which is the capital city down in Uruguay. And she is somebody who helps people through this kind of process. I talked to her through email before the Christmas holiday, and just kind of felt out, how could we kind of start this process? We're kind of ahead of things at this point, but I just wanted to kind of get kind of a 40,000 foot view of what this process is going to look like. If there are things that I can do during my trip next year that can kind of help, documents that I could get taken care of, that could be, little bits of the process. I want to kind of know about that stuff ahead of time. So, with her, I established a connection, and the Christmas holiday went by, and we just settled on a date and a time when we're going to have a chat. And that was what I accomplished for today. I did a little bit of Spanish learning today. I learned the word, one of my new favorite words, algo, means something, I think. Don't quote me on that. I think it's like a broad term. It just means like something. Algo, I think. Again, don't quote me on that. I'm still learning. I have barely a toddler's grasp of these things. But a little bit of Spanish learning, locked in that meeting slot, and did a little bit of research today also, which I'll be sharing with you guys in a little bit. One bit of research that I did was about nuclear power plants, and I want to know where nuclear power plants are in the area because I've had some experiences with nuclear power plants in my past, which I would like to not duplicate in the future. So just little bits, little steps here and there, every little step of the way getting closer. And if you focus on the tasks at hand, the fact that you are kind of operating outside of your comfort zone, you can kind of forget it when you're focusing just on that task. And that is true whether you are thinking about relocating around the world or just getting out there, starting a new business, meeting new friends, whatever it is inside in your life that is pushing you outside of your comfort zone. Focus on the step-by-step process of just pushing yourself just a little bit today, a little bit tomorrow. You'll eventually get from here to here. And as you get closer to that, you'll refine exactly where that is that you want to be. From back where I am right now, I can't see that closely enough. I know I just want to be somewhere over in that direction, and I'm somewhere over here. That's it. I hope you find this video helpful. I know it's very vague and broad and probably boring to most people, but I think this type of thinking is really important for people who are actually interested in getting up and doing real things in your life. If you want to do them in a efficient and effective way where you don't want to just be kind of spinning your wheels and thinking you're getting a lot done just because you're making a lot of movement for movement's sake. If you want clean, efficient, decisive action, it pays to think about it before you begin. That's it, and thanks for watching. Hey YouTube preppers, if you enjoyed this video, here's another that I think you might like. But before you click on it, I wanted to take a moment to thank all the people you see on the right-hand side of your screen. They help to support all the work that I do here over at patreon.com. If you'd like to join them and get your name added to the list, the link's below.